I honestly put 0 effort into this.
Shit ain't got activated. Saw the money ain't got activated. Saw the money ain't got activated. Saw that money ain't got activated. I saw that money ain't got activated.
What is up, guys? So, if I sound kind of... Let me grab my sunglasses so I'm not squinting at you guys. Hang on. Hey guys, we're back. Just had to grab some sunglasses real quick. But anyhow, so if I sound kind of like not outgoing, it's because I'm just really tired today. So, let's see. So after this week's drift event that we went to, it kind of made me realize like what we need to do to the hard body to make it drift worthy. Considering Kill Care's, like, as far as I know, like one of the only drift tracks that's as close as it is for me. So that's going to be a course I'm going to be running a lot. So we need to set the hard body up to be able to run that course well, per se. So that course has a really high bank, has 2 high banks, and then the rest of it is kind of nimble. So we'll probably need a lot of angle, and we're definitely gonna need the brake to complete that course thoroughly. So with that being said, we are going to start working on it today and getting it a little closer to being drift worthy. So one of my biggest complaints about the hard body is the wheel hop that it has when you're coming out of a slide or skid per se, or drift, however you prefer to put it. When you're coming out of like a slide, it wheel hops really bad. I'm not gonna lie, it sometimes is really violent, and a lot of people are like, oh, just clutch in and then, you know, kick the clutch again, and that's cool and everything, it works, but when you're trying to transition, makes it really difficult. So I'm by no means a pro drifter or anything like that. This is just me as a driver explaining what I'm experiencing. So with that being said, another issue we're having is when we did the leaf flip, when we put the stiffer spring on top, it made it so where the U-bolts were literally bolted on with this much thread, and one of the bolts sheared off. So we are going to remove a leaf today, and then I'll show you guys. I'm gonna remove this middle leaf right here, this like kind of thicker one. I'll remove this, and then I also am going to, I don't know if we're gonna do this today or in this video or anything, but I'm going to re-drill the front mount. So a re-drill consists of just moving this up to here. So you just re-drill a hole and move it up there. So we're gonna do that, and then you just cut off that, because this thing literally drags on the ground right there. So you just cut off the excess, and that'll drop the truck even more. And then once we tuck tire, we'll put our flares on, and then next thing on the list is to cut the bump stops out, cut the steering knuckle or the steering stops out, and then this thing should be closer to ripping. Still haven't got the hydro brake figured out. I think I'm just gonna order a Willwood setup, and we still need to go through the brakes and stuff, but I don't think we're gonna do all that. So another thing we'll be doing is we're gonna be making a front lip from this thing, so we'll show you guys how to do that. So with that being said, before we even start working on anything, I'm going to run to Walmart and get something to make a front lip, which I will show you guys how to do that once we go get the stuff. So again, I apologize if I'm not being super enthusiastic. I think I'm also starting to get sick because my throat hurts, and I'm just really tired because I didn't go to bed till like 3 last night. So that's cool. We out here still working. So we're gonna run, or not to Walmart, maybe Home Depot, but we're gonna run and get the stuff we need to make the front lip, and then we'll be back. Okay, so when you go to, well, I'm going to Lowe's, but Lowe's or Home Depot, you're gonna want to go straight to the garden section and find garden trim. So we're gonna see if we can find it. Okay, so it looks like we found the trim. We just gotta figure out which one we want to use. Oh, I think I found it. Hang on. Okay, so you have all this stuff. This is probably the more ideal thing. This is $30, and I'm not. I refuse to pay $20 for something that I'm literally going to use 5 foot of, and it comes with 20 foot. Not happening. Not paying that. They can fuck all the way off. I'm not paying that. So, what we're going to do is we're going to get this instead, and then we're just going to cut this. Or no, we're going to cut the top seam off right there. So, let's see how it works. Okay, so we got this front lip on. I honestly put 0 effort into this because that's the cool thing about a drift missile, because you just don't care about it as much. It doesn't look that bad, but it honestly doesn't look good either. So I'll show you guys. If you want to try it with a little more effort or get a better material. I was just a harder material. Finished product. Really the only like weird looking part is this like little spot right here, and then where it's like wavy. Honestly, if I like re-supported it and like made it structurally like nice all the way around, it wouldn't look bad. Like, it doesn't look terrible, I guess. You can just tell there was no effort into it, really. So, it looks better than what it was. Maybe we'll try to make it look a little bit better, but it'll work for now. I honestly think that it's slanted, like this is higher and that's lower. Looking at it right now. We'll have to see on like level ground, but yeah. Our middle spring out here. It also turns out that the centering pin bolt, the nut that goes on here, somehow rattled loose, so not sure how that happened. I'm sure that would cause the rear axle to slide around and stuff too, so pulling this big guy out, which is going to take away a little bit of our stiffness in the rear, so hopefully everything still goes well. But yeah, guys. What's up, guys? So we got the leaf spring flipped, or not flipped, but we removed our center leaf spring and got everything fixed. The downside is, I'll show you guys. The downside is the truck is raking again. I don't know if it's kind of hard to tell maybe on camera, but the rear is definitely taller than the front, which is partially probably because it has a taller tire in the rear. But before when I had this spring in, it kind of tucked the tire a little bit. And the reason why it raised the truck back up is because it doesn't have any. When you take a leaf spring out on a leaf flipped vehicle, it drops the axle down, and by doing that it raises the truck. But the good news is now we're not living life on the edge by having a couple threads of the U-bolt on there. So what we are going to do is, I'm not going to make this one video, or I am going to make this one video, but we're going to re-drill the front leaf spring mount, so that way you guys can see how to do that, and you guys can see how the that whole process works, and that way it can also drop the truck even more. Plus, I'm tired of the leaf spring hanger mount dragging on the ground, so we'll probably do that sometime this week. I think I'm gonna go test drive the truck real quick. I think what we need to do is get some nice stiff shocks on this, because that could be another reason why it's axle hopping, because the shocks on this truck literally do nothing. And when I say that, I mean literally they do nothing, because they're rotted out and they're blown out. So I feel like that'd be kind of common sense for me to think that those need to be replaced. And they do, and I've known that, but it's just one of those things you just keep putting off because the truck drives fine. So we'll definitely do that though. So for now, I will see you guys in the next clip, and that should be in a couple days when we start the leaf spring rehanging. So see you guys in a second. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, future. And into the future. What's up, guys? So we got the hard body in the garage, as you can see. Oh, right there. There's the hard body, right there. And we are about to possibly jack this up. Hopefully this goes well. If this doesn't go well, I'm still uploading this video because we gotta upload. So hopefully this goes well. I'm gonna try to break the bolts loose now. I'm thinking that we can just break them loose and just tap them through and hopefully be able to reuse the bolts and just drill new ones, cut the remaining bracket piece off, and then be good to go. Hopefully that's the plan. Never goes as planned, but I finally got a fan. Oh, okay, bars, plan fan, all right. Anyhow, so I finally got a fan in the garage. That is something I've needed for years. It's like one of those things that's like super cheap, but you can never get yourself to buy one. Like, you'll go to Walmart and you're like, man, that fan's $10, I don't know. Then you turn around, you leave Walmart and you go to you get on Amazon and then you order $500 and stuff and you're like not even sweating it. That's me. So with that being said, I'm going to, so pretty much what the redrill consists of, even though I know I told you guys yesterday, but you're just gonna pretty much redrill a hole up here and then you're gonna lop this remaining piece off. And this is gonna lower the truck and also keep it from dragging on this because it bottoms out on this quite a bit actually. So another thing that I've kind of changed since yesterday as far as plans go is I think what I'm gonna do is I'm going to do this redrill and then we're also gonna try to get rid of the 4-inch block and go with a 2-inch block and then put that spring back in. So it'll be stiff, it'll be low, just as low, and we get rid of some of the block height. So I was talking to some guys that drift these trucks, and they were saying diminish as much block height as you possibly can because that'll cause axle wrap, wheel hop, which I'm having, and it's all around better to have less block height as possible. So hopefully with the redrill and then 2-inch block and then putting that 1 leaf back in, we should have a fairly good ride height. If anything, we could go to a 3-inch block, but as long as we're like somewhat tucking tire, that's fine with me. And then we got some other things we're going to make up for the rear of this truck that we will talk about. I don't know if that'll be in this video or not, but we are definitely going to be cutting some stuff apart and really doing some fab work with this, just to dial in the suspension the best we can. So I'm going to try to break these bolts loose, and then I'll catch up with you guys in a sec. Sorry if the fan's too loud, I'm just enjoying it. But so there is there's a 12 millimeter, hang on. Okay, so there's a 12 millimeter bolt that'll go in right here in this. So it turns out that the whole bolt that goes through the shackle is like a part of this whole piece. So until you take this out, this will not come out. And then the other side is just a nut, and it is a 17 millimeter or an 11/16 fits on it loosely. I had to use an 11/16 because I didn't have a 1/2 inch 17. I do have one, I just couldn't find it. And then once I broke it loose, I took it the rest of the way out, but with a 17. So I literally have barely tapped it and it already started to slide out. So that's good news. That means they're not seized. So in this truck, the body's not rusty, but the frame is. So I guess that's a good thing. So now I have to figure out how I'm going to push this out without the leaf spring like shooting down. So that's what we're gonna figure out now, and then we'll go from there. So you should be able to just tap this out, and then once you do that, my plan is to try to like jack it up and get a rough idea of where I want to drill the hole. A lot of people were saying like people were trying to like move it forward and this and that, and that'll actually uncenter the wheel in the wheel well. So I guess my plan is right now is to just try to like kind of like fab it up and see where I end up looking good at, and then we'll go from there. I'm gonna try to get it as close to the frame as I can, obviously, because I want to get the maximum amount of low, but I also don't want to compromise having an offset wheel. Another thing is you want to measure exactly where you're drilling your hole, because you want the other side to match. You don't want them to be off from each side, because you'll cause yourself a lot of problems. So we're gonna do that real quick, and then I'll catch up with you guys. Okay, so we actually got the leaf spring unbolted. As you can see, there's a big gaping hole there, and then the leaf spring's pushed up. And then where's the bolt? Here's what you're working with on the bolt. So what I actually had to do, which I had to unbolt the axle from the leaf springs, which is probably common sense, but I was trying to leave it bolted up so that way I could gauge where it would sit. So instead I used a ramp that has like indentation, so it keeps the axle in its exact spot. So that kind of helps a little bit. But the bad news is I noticed that this bushing back here is torn, and that is probably why we're having some issues with wheel hop. Or it could be one of the issues. Maybe it isn't, maybe it is, but I think what we're gonna do is we're just gonna go ahead and replace all the bushings with like energy suspension bushings. So unfortunately, we won't have this done in today's video, but I feel like you guys have pretty much got the gist of it. So pretty much what you'll do is, what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure the circumference of this, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of measure, it should be come up to about right here somewhere. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that measurement and I'm going to make sure it's going to clear the frame on the inside. And then what I'm going to do is just divide that in half and then put a center mark where the center of the leaf spring should be, and then drill a hole through. And that's exactly where the leaf spring should sit. So that's what you guys will have to do. And then after that, you'll just lop off whatever's left here, and then you should have yourself a lowered truck and one that is not dragging on the ground. So yeah. So I think that's gonna be it for today's video. I'm just gonna pull the whole leaf spring off on this side, and then figure out where and when I can get those bushings. It looks like from what I was looking at, AutoZone might carry a whole leaf spring bushing kit with bolts. So we'll see how cheap that is, because I'm not going to overpay for it. If I have to order it online and get cheaper, that's fine. But for right now, I think that's all we're going to get done for this video. I know, I'm sorry that it doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of progress in the video, but you know, it's one of those things that happens. So we'll just make this a part 1, and then part 2, this thing will be on the ground, which shouldn't be too many videos from now. My plans right now, I really want you guys to comment below, or I might try to put that poll thing in the video. So right up here in the corner, or in this corner, there'll be like a little thing you can click and vote. So my question to you guys is, so I've been more consistent and stuff, been posting exactly on Wednesdays and Sundays at noon. My question for you guys is, like, I want you guys to legitimately like answer this. Like, it helps me a lot, believe it or not, when you guys answer something. Like, if I put a poll on Instagram asking questions, a lot of you guys like will joke around and like vote stuff, which is fine, like, but it really does help a lot if you can tell me like what you'd like to see or whatever. So my plan, I think, is to, instead of, because I noticed what I'll do is I'll work on a vehicle, and like we'll do like one video on it where we're like starting to tear apart the rear end, and then we'll go from that, and then the next video will be starting something on the Cummins, and then 2 videos later I'll be finishing up what I started in the first video on the hard body, and then like randomly it'll be like the next video will be like me washing the BMW. So my question to you guys is, should I start doing some of the builds like more in segments? So like we'll pick a couple weeks or a week where we're just working on the hard body start to finish. Like, for example, say that we're starting to do the redrill, or we have like a few things to do in the rear suspension of the hard body. Should I start doing that to where like the first video is the hard body, starting it, the second video is the hard body, the third video is like finishing up the hard body, for example, and there's no other content in between that kind of like throws it off? Should I do things that way? Or do you guys like me bouncing around from hardbody randomly, starting a project on the hardbody, and then bouncing over to the Cummins and starting a project, and then bouncing back to the hardbody and finishing it, and then bouncing back to the Cummins, and then bouncing. Like, you guys tell me what you guys prefer. Hopefully you even watched the video this far to vote and tell me. But yeah, guys, that's going to be the end of the video. And we will figure out what we're going to do with the bushings and stuff. And then get this thing finished up. And then we have some other fabrication work that we're going to do in the rear end. Not sure if it's going to be all in one take. I kind of want to drive the truck this weekend, so maybe we'll do the bushings and then drive it this weekend and then park it next week and do the fabrication work that we need to do to it. Which we need to gather some parts for that anyway. So that'll be it, guys. And stay tuned for the next couple videos. We've got the Cummins build coming up soon. And then we got the drift truck that we are currently working on. And then maybe eventually we'll get around to doing something to the BMW. So if you guys are new to the channel, like and subscribe. Comment below what you guys think. And always remember, you ain't having fun unless there's a casualty. See you in the next video, boys.